So I was born on a Sunday on Mother's Day. God knows why. But basically, the Wednesday right after that, I was already in church. And to sum it up, I'm very blessed that I was born in a Christian home. But that gave me a huge choice of having to do things to think for myself. Because then people would even more assume that it wasn't because of me and it was because of my parents. And that was never fun to argue with. So it's not that I didn't like church. I loved church. It was actually really cool. I had really good friends. Man, all of us would get out together. Like, we'd be hanging out in the comedor and the sanctuary, It was really cool. I was never really involved. I liked just to go to listen to the word and to the music. And I had good friends. But it was a Friday night or Saturday. We had a youth rally and it was so different. It was just, the guy was talking about how some of you, when he said, some of you have been here since you were little, but I've never experienced what it's like to be connected to God. And I heard my parents talk about it all the time. My dad was like, yeah, you know what, God's got me. And I always thought that it looked so different to me what my parents had. But I didn't want to take what they had. I wanted to have my own thing. I wanted to be connected to God, not through my parents. So in that moment, basically what I told myself and what I told God was, God, I've been told this in church, like, you want to accept Christ into your heart. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I'm here, it's not a bad thing. I love God, I really do, like, care about God and everything. I'm a good daughter, I'm a good friend, I'm a good sister. But it was different because I did not just want to be with God or know that God was there, but I wanted to have Him and walk with Him and do something to glorify Him, to share with other people. So that day changed everything. I wanted Him more than I had before, and I wanted to do something about it. So I was in church, and like I said, it was fun, and it was different because now, like, when I talk to everybody about God, they were like, dang, Yuli, like, it was really cool talking to my friends. They really noticed, like, I knew my stuff because I'd gone into the Word. I wanted to learn everything I could so that people would learn something from it because I wanted to share it as much as I could. I'm a little bit older and I'm still in church. I never hated going. If I missed a Sunday, it was weird. I was that kid and there was nothing wrong with it. I loved it because that was my life. But there came a point where I realized, like, I'm just someone who comes to church. That's all I am. I don't really offer anything more than that besides my friends at school, but I wanted to do something more in ministry. And that was around the same time where college stuff was going on. I had to choose where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, that whole situation where they make you fill in bubbles and then you decide what you're gonna do, basically. But I wasn't with it. Prayer's always been really important to me, and there was one day when I was just like, I'm dumb, like, why didn't I just pray about it? That's literally all I have to do, and then I think I'll have a little bit more clarity. So one day I just start praying, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, what do I even ask? Like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what I want, but here goes. God, what am I gonna do? I want to serve you. I've been going to church my whole entire life. I've been there. I love it there, but I want to do more. I want to move people. I want to do something. And I'm just like, but what can I do? And then one thing people always told me, like, oh, you can sing, you can do music. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not good enough. I'm too scared. I can't do it. I'd never sang in my church ever. And I was like, God, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm being brave. Maybe you'll answer it. And maybe you'll be like, yeah, Yuli, do that. Maybe you won't. I just want to know. Give it a shot. Like, I like to sing. And if that's what you want me to do in some way, then I'll do it. So that's what I prayed for. I was just like, God, what am I going to do? That weekend, right after I prayed that, my cousin sends me a message and she's like, hey, Yuli, you want to go to a conference? It's for my a master's commission that they have at the church that she went to. And I was like, sure, why not? I'm just probably going to stay in and do nothing. So I go and I get there and I walk in. Everybody's cool. Everybody's really nice. Right away, someone gives me a Snickers. So I'm just like, this is it. That's how you get to me. And so it starts and the worship starts. It was my current music pastor, worship pastor, Enoch, and he just starts playing. It's nothing big. It's just him on his guitar, but it was different. I was just there, and I look around and everybody had their hands up. It was normal for them. I'd never been that person because I was scared to even kind of sing out loud in church. I thought, like, what if I do it wrong? What if someone looks at me like, oh, girl, you need to stop right now? And I find myself just singing a little bit louder, comfortably. And then I just start raising my hands, and it was so beautiful. And of course, I know, like, I was talented and everything, but I felt like God was there, and I was worshiping with Him. And I'd felt it before, with prayer and stuff, but I'd never felt it like that. So that night, just going to sleep, all excited. I'm excited to be there. I'm just like, wow, this is cool. Like, is this what this church is like? And I go to sleep, but before I go to sleep, I'm just there like, God, like, I just prayed about this. This is what worship is. God, will I ever get to do that? Will I ever get to sing to people and have them feel so close to you like I just did right now? So then I'm still excited. The rest of the weekend goes by and the worship is great every single night. I moved more and more every single night. So that Sunday was great. I'm sitting there amazed, like, wow, this is crazy. Those people, they're singing and loving God at the same time. They're so comfortable. I'm comfortable here. They're making me feel comfortable. And just thinking like, man, how do you do that? How are they up there? Like, will I ever get to do anything like that? I love the messages too. And weeks pass by and I'm loving it. I'm there every Sunday, every Wednesday too. I start going. And the worship pastor, one day, he's outside in his car, and I'm walking towards my cousin's car, and then he stops me and he was like, hey, are you here? Like, are you staying here? And I told him, I was like, yeah, I like it here. I love it here. I think I'm gonna stay here. So he's like, so what do you want to do? Like, do you like worship? Like, are you in it? And I was just like, God, do I say it? Do I not? Like, I don't know if he's asking me. I don't know what he's implying. And I'm just like, yeah, I think I want to be some type of worship leader. So he starts explaining stuff to me because he's a worship pastor and all this stuff, And so I go home that night and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he talked to me. He told me all these things, like, God, what do you want me to do? But I was still struggling with the whole talent area. I was still insecure with that. That was a big thing, was that I was still scared, like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm super underqualified and it's just, they don't like me? So I go to a church with my friends on a Saturday. They invite me. I go with them, and the worship starts. The worship is great. I love it, like always. They're super good every time that I went. But I'm standing there and I'm singing and everything's normal. The music's fine, but then the music just stops out of nowhere. Like, I can't hear anything at all. And I'm looking around like, man, and everybody's normal and it's just me, and I'm just like, God, I better not be losing my hearing. Like, I just started this whole thing. What's gonna happen? But then out of nowhere, like, this peace just comes over me, and it's like I'm shaking, but I'm calm in the inside, and I still can't hear anything, but I'm not freaking out anymore. And so clearly in my head, I just hear, like, Yuli, it's not just about the music. Like, you're not always gonna sound good. It's not always gonna sound good. It's just about worshiping me, being there with me, staying there with me, leaving everything else out of your head. Like, don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about how you sound as much as you care about what you're doing for me. And I get that through my head, and it's the most clear thing in the world, and the music comes back on, and I worship like I've never worshiped before. And that's when things were different. I was different. I wasn't insecure. I was just like, God, you know what? You're right. I'm doing this for you. And as long as I do it for you, it's going to be okay. So everything was different after that. I was in the worship team. I loved it. I loved the people. I loved serving God. I loved being there in practice, rehearsal, everything. And that just went through my head always. Right before I went on stage and go on stage, I always think, like, God, I'm dumb sometimes. I forget. And if I mess up, like, just get back on it. Yuli, like, don't get scared and do it. My pastor Enoch really has done a good job of encouraging me to step out of my zone, which I'm still trying to do. But there was one Sunday, and it was just different. Enoch, he asked me to sing Gracious Tempest, which had always been one of my favorite songs, about God's grace, about the love that he has for us. So, we're practicing the song, it sounds alright, and I'm just like, yeah, let me just do it, but then I get into my mode and I'm just like, no, God, this is for you. I'm gonna try my best because I want to lead these people. I want them to be there with you as well, because I'm doing this for you. So it starts and everything, and it's really mellow in the beginning, but then we hit the chorus and people are singing along, and I always take my ears out, always. I don't know why, it's a bad habit to hear myself, but I don't. But I can still hear them. I still hear the people, they're singing loud. And I'm not opening my eyes because I'm kind of scared, but I'm staying there with God. And we get to the end of the song and I open my eyes, and at least what I saw, every hand is lifted. I see people crying, I see people just so in the moment, and I'm just like, God, I'm doing it for you. Like that thing that I prayed about so long ago, like I'm there. But right away I'm just like, you know what, I don't want to stay here, I want to do even more for you. And I just had to thank him for, I was always so scared to be myself, to praise him like I wanted to. One verse that I had in that time was Psalm 51. It said, but in my lips, Lord, I'll let loose with your praise. And that was so big to me because I couldn't always do that. I felt like I was so little, like I couldn't just let myself go, because what if I wasn't good enough, or what if people didn't like it, what if people didn't feel it? But in that moment I just learned, you know what, God, like I was looking at you, so now they're looking at you too, and that's all that matters. And that changed everything. So out of all of this, since I was little up until now, still being on the worship team, I've learned that the whole walk with God, you're learning things each and every day. Just as you're growing in him, whether it's talent, whatever gift he gives you. I was in a church, and I loved my church, I did. It was just, it took years for me to find what God wanted me to do for his kingdom. And when I found it, it was great. Some people, they're born into Christian homes, others aren't. But just because you're born into a Christian home doesn't mean you're gonna know what you're gonna do. That was a struggle for me for a while. I was just like, I'm here, like I'm not giving anything. What am I doing? I love it, but I don't want to just learn. I want to give something too. I don't just want to take, I want to give. And I did. And that was the thing for me, is that prayer, looking to God, giving everything to God, not being scared, stepping out of your comfort zone to be what God wants you to be. And doing that, you're going to be so much more than you think you could ever be. So I'm still on the worship team. I love it. Everybody pushes me because I get scared sometimes and I sing like a little bird, but I'm getting there and I'm trusting God through everything. God is really good. He's empowered me in ways that I know are not me, that are all him, and I know that he's gonna continue to help me to grow, and I'm excited for it. I hope that people know that worship is a big part, because just because I had to step out of my singing comfort zone, I had to step out of my personal comfort zone. I had to be willing to go say hi to people, tell them, hey, have a good day, all that stuff. Talking to people about the word, stepping out of your comfort zone to make the right choices instead of being scared, instead of lying, instead of cheating, instead of doing all these bad things. Stepping out of your sinful comfort zone to want to worship instead. Exchanging sin for worship. My name is Miriam Yulisa, parentheses Yuli Rubalcaba, and this is my Testimony Tuesday.